As a professional, as a person who's an entrepreneur and you're out there creating content to build your business, there's certain principles you want to learn all the time. I got to tell you, there's a little secret that I discovered combining some AI tools that give you a real advantage. I'm pretty excited about it. I saw it just last week. I was working with it. Now I want to share this with you. Hi, I'm Terry Brock. We're here with Stark Raving Entrepreneurs, where we help you build your business in a live and let live way. That's important to us. You don't initiate force. You don't take other people's stuff. You don't hurt them. This is the way to live life and to do it well. And by learning, you're going to be able to do even more. So I want to share this with you. It's just you and me here. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to share my computer and what I've done. Last week, I was reading a book by Steven Pressfield called The War of Art. It is a fabulous book, The War of Art, and I highly recommend looking into it. And so we're going to look at that as an example. So let's take a look at it. Let me show you what I have done and how I'm using this, what I've been able to do with it to get some really good information. Here's a passage that he had about professionals versus amateurs. I think he's very, very astute on this when he says the professional loves it so much, he dedicates his life to it, he commits full time. That's important. If you're going to learn, you got to commit full time to this. That's what I mean when I say turning pro. Resistance hates it when you turn pro. And he goes on and talks a whole lot about resistance that we have. And you know what I'm talking about. You're resisting something. You don't want to do it. There's that little thing. You can do it later. You can do it more. Well, this is why I'd recommend that book. But this video here, this audio, is not about that book per se, as great as it is. It's about being able to take the books that you want and then be able to do it. And you'll notice how I highlighted that section. That's something I like doing. Like I'm usually here, my phone right here. I got my Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra that I'm using. I love reading books on Kindle. You can also do the same thing if you prefer a paper book. I know a lot of people do that. I would use paper books. I do still, but I find I'm using the Kindle even more. But when you highlight something, you underline it or you write it. I've done that for literally decades. It's really good. But what you want to do is, what if you can get a capsule of all those best of the best according to you, and you have a recording of that? Hey, that's pretty nice. So what I've done is I use that, I record it, and then I go back later. Here's the key. Go back later and review that particular text. I'm going to look at some of the important ways you can do this to really learn more than just one reading. Seldom does one exposure to new material result in long-term learning. What you want to do is you want to go back and review, but do it the right way. And I'm going to give you some steps that can help you on that as well. I'm going to give you a whole lot in this video. So you like learning, you're a lifelong learner, you're going to want to hang on for this one all the way through to the end because we've got some real good things for you there. You're going to be able to learn this by going over it. So what I do is I sit down, and I did this last weekend. I grabbed my phone, and I was using that, reading it, looking at it, but then I got my other phone. I have two right now. That's a real nice thing. I got my iPhone, and I used Castmagic. Castmagic is a great tool that I highly recommend looking into. Matter of fact, in the section below, down in the description, you'll see some links that you can use. So you can use our affiliate link. We get a few coins if you purchase it through us. It doesn't cost you any more if you do that. We just get a few coins from them. And the same thing with other tools that we're talking about here. You can use these and be able to get a lot of benefit from it. With Castmagic, I'm able to record this where I just tap the record. It records a little bit, and then I press pause as I go to the next chapter and think, okay, what do I want here? What do I want there? Oh, there's one I want. I'll press the record again, and it gives me the ability to use that. Then, when it's done, I've got a collection as a recording that I put up into the cloud for both the transcript and the voice. Got them both on there. That's really nice, and we've got a lot of that today. Hey, by the way, that used to be a real big deal. Ooh, you'd get a transcript of it. Now it's kind of like table stakes. This is just the basics that what you need to have. But what happens with Castmagic is it can take that and repurpose it into a nice introduction, an article that you could use on LinkedIn. It could be used for a thread over on X, formerly called Twitter. You can use this for the highlight points that you want to bring out, or the best of the best. You could also get a summary of it in another language. As you see with the work that I'm doing here, often I turn it into Spanish, so that my friends, my colleagues, my amigos who are speaking Spanish and are patient with me as I'm working through it and trying to learn Spanish, working with it more and more, and I love that language. You get a chance to see it there. Castmagic does all that for you. And so here's the combination. What we're doing is we're taking what's available on the screen, highlighting it, then go back for a review of the best so that you can learn these concepts really well. I'm going to give you some pointers here in just a moment on how to do that. Then we go over into Castmagic, and by using Castmagic and their iOS recording, that's the key feature in it, iOS recording, then it gives you the ability to send that to the cloud. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who give presentations, my professional speaker friends, those of you who give a lecture somewhere, you want to record that, iOS recording on Castmagic is the best tool I have seen ever. I'm saying that very carefully. The best tool I've seen ever to record what you're doing. We've long been able to record ourselves. We clip a little mic on here and put a recorder in our pocket or on the stand there, where you have the recording, the screen, the camera that's recording it. All that is really good, and we still want to do that. But at the same time, if you use iOS recording, it gets a recording of it, gives you the transcript as well, and then you can go back, like I'm telling you about here for a book, you can do it for a speech, where you could create a whole new blog post on that speech you gave, pulling out the best of the best elements for it. I've had several programs or several episodes we put together here on this channel talking about Castmagic, so be sure and check that out here at Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. If you're catching this on audio, be sure and look at some of the other past episodes where we've talked about Castmagic and how you can use that. So what you want to do is you want to use that combination. The magic is in the mix. It's what we've often said about how to use this technology. You put it together and then you go back and you can review it. So what do you do when you review? Well, there's a lot you can do with that. And to find out about some of the best ways to learn about it, scientifically based, research-backed training, well, I went to Perplexity at perplexity.ai, great little tool that I use a lot, and I selected the focus. See, that's the beauty of Perplexity. It lets you focus on certain areas. One of those areas is research-backed academic learning, peer-reviewed material. Now that's really good. So I did that, and look what it gave me. Here, first let me show you what I did here. Here's the prompt I put in there. I said, what are the best AI tools for research-backed rules for lifelong learning? And you see it came back with an answer, really good. It said to address it about that, lifelong learning, I'll provide a comprehensive overview and that aligns with your background as a marketing and communications advisor who leverages technology to build better business relationships. By the way, did you notice what it did there? This is what it does with Perplexity. As a side note, I put those things into my biography of what I do, who I am, how I operate, and it uses those regularly when it's looking for information for me. You'll want to do that on Perplexity yourself. Make sure you go in there and you put in who you are, what you like, your values, and then it looks for those and brings them in when you're working with it. And so what it did here is it gave me some specifics that I can use in some real targeted ways that, well, I kind of like this. It gives me the ability to look at it. It says answer, and it gave me some tools here like ChatGPT, Coursera, Duolingo, Grammarly, and Socratic by Google. Very nice things there. But what it really did, I want to zero in on this for you and me right here. Research-backed rules for lifelong learning. It gave 5, and let's go over those individually. First of all, an overview of it. Active recall, spaced repetition, interleaving. Oh, what in the world is that? What is interleaving? I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty cool. So let's look at that. And then elaborative rehearsal. Okay, I kind of got an idea of that. Very elaborate. We're going to go over that rehearsing. And metacognition. Now I think, what in the world is metacognition? Well, let's take a look at all of those a little bit at a time so we can see exactly what it's talking about and how you can use this in your learning. Okay, the first item we want to take a look at here, number 1, is the active recall. It says, instead of passively reviewing information, actively test yourself on what you've learned. This strengthens memory and improves long-term retention. I think that's something that we really want to do and make sure that it's working well. So you go back over it and review it. I remember years ago I had the opportunity to work a little bit with Jerry Lucas. He wrote a book called The Memory Book with Harry Lorraine. This was years ago. Jerry Lucas came to the campus where I was in undergrad school, and he talked about learning and memory and how to use it. I had read his book, so I wanted to make sure I got together with him early. I was one of the early people there. Well, because I was one of the early people, he made a note of that mentally, and he asked me and a couple others to work closely with him. And I remember so clearly, here I'm getting one of the greatest memory experts in the world telling me how to remember. And so we went through memorizing names of people that were there that were coming. And he showed us how to do it. And he pulled us over to the side and he said, you see that person over there? His name is Phil. You know, we learned that. His name is Phil. And so by learning Phil, we talked about filling the cup up. He said, put that in there, remember that, and sit down and write it down. At that time, we'd pull out a piece of paper and write it down. Today, you can go over it and put it into Google Docs or Word or Evernote or other tools that are out there and make sure that that's then firmly embedded in your mind of what to do. Then review it regularly. Regular repetition is going to help. So that's what we want to do. The second one here is spaced repetition. Spaced repetition, it says revisit information at increasing intervals over time. This technique enhances long-term memory and is particularly effective for retaining large amounts of information. That's really important and something that you want to do on a regular basis. Go over it, repeat it. One of the things I'm doing now in my Spanish is I'm regularly repeating over and over the languages. As a matter of fact, I sometimes will say a word many times, like 10 to 20 times. Most human beings would not want to hang around that, but for you individually, you can do it for yourself. I'd recommend to embrace that spaced repetition. Next thing you want to look at is interleaving, which is one of those you go, what in the world is interleaving? Well, it says mix different but related topics or skills during a learning session. This approach improves your ability to differentiate between concepts and apply them in various context. This is really important because it gives you the ability to grab many different concepts that are related, pull them in, and get a chance to see how they tie in together. Your brain is now activating several different neurons, which is important, able to tie those in together. Try that interleaving, find out what associates with other new material that you're trying to learn, and bring all of that in to enhance your learning experience. Step number 4 is elaborative rehearsal. I love this one here. Very important. It ties in with the spaced repetition that you're going something over and over, but you're rehearsing it here. Connect new information to existing knowledge or experiences. This helps create stronger neural pathways and improves recall. Very important. And matter of fact, that's something that when you think about it, that's what Jerry Lucas did. When he said to go over it and recall it, rehearse it, we would use something that's related to that. When we said, here's Phil, remember his name, and look at yourself filling a cup. You're filling up something and handing it to Phil. Or maybe you're pouring something in there, you're filling up his head. There might be a hole in his head. You put it in there, something silly and ridiculous. That rehearsal is really important. So going over and over the material can be very helpful. It's step number 5. I really like this one. Metacognition. Metacognition is something that, well, it sounds kind of fancy, but what it is, it's giving you the ability to reflect on your learning process, identify what works best for you, and adjusting your strategies accordingly. That is really important, that what you're doing is you're now working with the material, you're bringing it in, you're getting that jumbling around in your mind, and that definitely increases your learning. And so why do we do all this learning? The learning is so that you can then create better content that is more closely attuned to solving the problems of your target market. That's the key. When you can start learning faster, learn better, and have it available, you're going to do well. With AI, sometimes people think we don't have to do a lot. Well, with AI, look at it as a tool. The problem comes when we look at AI as a competitor versus a tool. Something that we're going to use to help us. Think of AI kind of like using the internet. Years ago, we first saw the internet, like the early 90s was for the first time for many people out there in the world. They're hearing about this thing called the internet. They think, oh, it's going to take away our jobs. Well, it did take away some jobs, but it also created even more new jobs. Same thing with AI. It's going to create new opportunities, and for those who can learn fast, and apply those principles that I just mentioned, those 5 principles, you're going to be able to learn and do even better. So, hey, I want to hear from you. What do you think about that? How are you learning? Leave a comment below on what you're doing to learn. How do you learn faster? How do you retain something that's really important? And then how do you take that learning and translate it into business that you're building? How do you build your business with that? That is the real key as you move forward. So go back, look at these principles, and stay with them. Keep working on that, and as you progress forward, you're going to be able to do even more with what you're doing. Matter of fact, one of the ways we do that is with our Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. This is important. This is something that's really vitally important. Go over to starkravingentrepreneurs.com, and you'll see how we have the tools available for you to grow and to build your business. You can do that using email newsletters. That's one of the things we talk about. We also talk about ways you can use it with podcasting. Podcasting is another tool that's available. All this is creating content, but you're using it based on your knowledge. And then, of course, video creation. Kind of like we're doing here, this gives you the ability to get a lot more done in a lot less time. And this is where we want to help you to be able to build your business, make it something that can be very strong for you. And to continue building your business, we've got a special gift we want to give you, our AI Tools for Business. AI Tools for Business gives you some key AI tools that are out there like ChatGPT and Perplexity. We look at Canva. We look at others that are available for you to use. Matter of fact, it was interesting just yesterday. We were talking to someone who found what was available there, has gone through and studied it, and is already building his business even bigger. An entrepreneur who's rather actually quite famous. And I'm not at liberty to share his name right now, but he was able to use that. And then we thought, hey, that's really good. Gina and I were watching it. So we want you to look at that. And we've got some other goodies for you as well. A couple of videos here that are going to help you on how to use AI specifically. It's worth your time to click on these and watch them. Take notes and learn from it. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Again, leave a note below, and we'll look forward to hearing how you're using this and what it's doing to help your business. I'm Terry Brock. Thank you very much for joining me today.